Back in the early 1970s, before emissions laws fully took hold, most companies had already started downsizing their engines. But somehow, Detroit factories were still pumping out some absolutely incredible muscle cars. Some of these machines were unbeatable on the drag strip, some completely dominated race circuits, and one of them even broke the highest speed ever reached by an American car at the time. Today we're diving into the fastest American muscle cars of the 1970s. And honestly, there might even be a few cars on this list you've never heard of. Let's get into it. Number 10, 1970 Dodge Dart Swinger 340. A bigger engine isn't always the answer. Dodge proved that back in 1968 when they dropped a 340 cubic inch small block V8 into a lightweight body and created the Swinger 340. We're talking 275 horsepower, a heavy duty cast iron block, dual exhaust, high compression setup, and 461 pound-feet of torque at just 3,200 revolutions per minute. And the whole car weighed just over 3,100 pounds. Here's the crazy part. Insurance companies didn't classify it as a muscle car because of its smaller engine. That made it the perfect dream car for younger buyers. Cheap, powerful, and low insurance. Back in 1969, it sold for just $2,836, and it could outperform cars like the Chevrolet Nova SS in the same price range. Quarter mile? Just under 14 seconds. 0 to 60? Around 6 seconds. Top speed sat at about 125 miles per hour, which was seriously impressive for its time. Number 9, 1971 Plymouth GTX 446 pack. The GTX was Plymouth's idea of a gentleman's muscle car. Not basic, refined, not just sporty, more like a brawler in a suit. For 1971, the B-body platform was completely redesigned with that aggressive fuselage-style body, but under the hood, things weren't all good news. Due to emissions pressure, the compression ratio on the 440 six-pack dropped, and horsepower went from 390 down to 385. Still, with 3 Holley 2-barrel carburetors, a high-flow intake, and 490 pound-feet of torque, this thing was no joke. 0 to 60 came in at 5.8 seconds, quarter mile in 14.4, and top speed was around 132 miles per hour. Only 2,942 GTXs were produced in 1971, and the Hemi version completely gone the following year. Number 8, 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. Calling the 426 Hemi engine legendary almost feels like an understatement. Hemispherical combustion chambers, dual 4-barrel carburetors, forged steel crankshaft, and 4-bolt main bearings. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, but realistically closer to 460. Drop that engine into the E-body Barracuda, and you get the Hemi Cuda. In 1971, compression was lowered, and the official rating dropped to 350 horsepower. But make no mistake, it was still the same beast underneath. 0 to 60, around 5.2 seconds. Top speed, roughly 140 miles per hour. And here's where it gets insane. Only 107 hardtop Hemi Cudas were built in 1971, and just 59 of them came with a 4-speed manual. Today, these cars sell for over $500,000. One example even hit $560,000 at a Make-'em auction. This wasn't built to sit in a museum, it was built to be driven. Number 7, Plymouth Roadrunner 426 Hemi. When the Roadrunner first came out, it was basically a statement: take all the performance of the expensive GTX and strip away everything unnecessary. For 1970, it got a redesigned look with loop bumpers and a distinctive rear design. That year also marked a change for the Hemi, switching from solid lifters to hydraulic lifters, making it more durable and easier to live with. Official horsepower stayed at 425, and the air grabber hood came standard with the Hemi. Hit full throttle and the hood scoop would open up. You could literally hear the engine breathing differently. Car and driver recorded 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds, a 13.49 second quarter mile at 106 miles per hour, and a top speed of about 142 miles per hour. Production? Extremely limited. Just 152 Hemi Roadrunners were built in 1970, including only 3 convertibles. Number 6, 1971 Dodge Challenger R/T 446 pack. The Challenger debuted in 1970 and instantly blew moped Mopar fans away. But by 1971, while the car looked nearly identical, things under the hood had started to change. Compression ratios dropped across the board, and the 4406 pack was now officially rated at 385 horsepower, down slightly from 390 the year before. Even so, with triple Holley carburetors and independent suspension, the Challenger still felt aggressive and raw. With a 4-speed manual, Hurst shifter, and 3.54 rear gearing, it could run the quarter mile in about 14 seconds. Top speed was around 140 miles per hour. 1971 was a tough year. Emissions rules, rising insurance costs, and declining sales all hit hard. Today, these 446 pack Challengers are showing up more and more in high-end auctions. Number 5. 1970 Dodge Challenger RT 426 Hemi. In 1970, the Challenger RT order sheet basically felt unlimited. At the very top sat the 426 Street Hemi, and it wasn't cheap. For an extra $1,228, you didn't just get the engine, you got heavy-duty components, reinforced chassis, Dana 60 rear axle, and upgraded suspension. 425 horsepower, 490 pound-feet of torque. At idle, the engine felt calm, but the moment you floored it, it felt like the car left you behind in the seat. Car and driver recorded a 13.2 second quarter mile at 112 miles per hour. Top speed was around 145 miles per hour, and at this point, we're getting into seriously fast territory. Only 356 Hemi Challenger hardtops were built in 1970. How many are left today? No one really knows, but original documented cars now sell for insane money. And here's a cool detail: when the speedometer went all the way up to 150 miles per hour. That wasn't a coincidence. Number 4. 1970 Ford Torino Cobra 429. Ford's answer to Mopar's dominance in 1970 was the Torino Cobra. From the outside, it looked almost understated. A matte black hood and grille, simple Cobra badging, and basic hood pins. Nothing flashy, but underneath, this thing was built for war. Inside, you got a close ratio 4-speed manual transmission, a Hurst shifter, and a competition-tuned suspension setup. And under the hood sat the real star of the show, the 429 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8, producing 370 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. If that wasn't enough, the Super Cobra Jet version pushed it up to 375 horsepower. And if you added the drag pack, you got forged pistons, an oil cooler, and a mechanical lifter cam, all built to handle serious abuse. In testing, it ran 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 6.0 seconds and completed the quarter mile in 14.5 seconds at 100 miles per hour. Top speed was around 145 miles per hour. Yes, it was heavier than most of its rivals, but that extra weight over the rear axle actually helped with traction. It may have lived in Mopar's shadow, but with the right options, this thing could absolutely go toe-to-toe with the best of them. Number 3. 1970 Chevrolet Chevel SS454 LS6 LS6. Those two letters and one number completely redefined what power meant in America in 1970. A 454 cubic inch V8, an 800 cubic feet per minute Holley carburetor, aluminum intake manifold, 11.25 to 1 compression ratio, solid lifter cam, and a forged steel crankshaft. Officially rated at 450 horsepower, but in reality it was closer to 500. And GM absolutely knew it. Torque, a brutal 500 pound-feet. You could pair it with the legendary Rock Crusher M22 4-speed manual or a heavy-duty Turbo 400 automatic. And once you added all the required options that came with the LS6 package, the price jumped over $1,000, which was a big deal at the time. In testing, the car ran a 13.12 second quarter mile at 113 miles per hour. Depending on gearing, top speed landed somewhere around 150 miles per hour. In total, about 4,475 LS6 Chevels were built. This wasn't just fast, it was one of the most brutally powerful muscle cars ever made. Number 2. 1970 Plymouth Superbird. The nose cone of the 1970 Plymouth Superbird stretched a full 19 inches out front. The rear wing towered so high you could actually see it in your rearview mirror. And yeah, the looks were controversial. Some of these cars literally sat on dealer lots for years because people didn't know what to make of them, but this car was never about looks. NASCAR's homologation rules required manufacturers to build a certain number of street cars, roughly half the number of dealerships they had. Plymouth built the Superbird to bring Richard Petty back, and it worked. Petty won 8 races in 1970. Engine options included the 400 440 Super Commando, 375 horsepower, the 446 barrel, 390 horsepower, and the legendary 426 Street Hemi, 425 horsepower. With the Hemi, street top speed was around 163 miles per hour, and that famous 200 miles per hour number, that came from the NASCAR race version on track, not the street car. A total of 1,935 units were built. Today, Hemi versions sell anywhere between $200,000 and $450,000. It may look wild, but everything about it had a purpose. Number 1, 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. March 24th, 1970, Talladega. Behind the wheel of a race-prepped Dodge Charger Daytona, owned by Chrysler's engineering department, was Buddy Baker. And on that day, he broke the 200 miles per hour barrier. For the first time ever, an American race car had reached that speed. But wait, wasn't that a race car? Yes, it absolutely was. The street version of the Charger Daytona, with 503 units built, was still something special. Designed in Chrysler's Lockheed Martin wind tunnel, it featured a 23-inch rear wing and a long aerodynamic nose cone. The standard engine was the 440 Magnum, producing 375 horsepower. The optional 426 Hemi delivered 425 horsepower. With the standard 3.23 rear axle ratio, street top speed was around 160 miles per hour. But the NASCAR race version, that was on a completely different level, and after that achievement, NASCAR changed the rules. By the end of the same year, aero cars with engines larger than 5.0 liters were effectively banned. America's fastest factory-built car was ultimately killed by its own speed.